before we arrived at where we did arrive. And in the end, I think it makes a great companion. You know, it's a great companion. It's not meant to be better. It's not even really meant to be drastically different and completely not the same thing, even though that's what we started out doing. But it just ended up being a great companion. Like, you know, like Back to the Future 1, 2, and 3 all just sort of works on.
It's all part of one story. I mean, I look at it like Godfather and Godfather Part 2,
Right.
or Star Wars and Empire Strikes
Just a
Back.
sequel.
Not in
Okay.
terms of quality,
There it is.
but just in terms of, you know, somebody's got like one better than the other, but it's part of the same story.
Like Alien and Aliens, both good, despite the one was a sequel, man. It's good.
When we had our first writing session last January with all of us together, that we were finishing up the I think the Tilburg live DVD of Similitude, and Eric and I were sitting out in the evening watching like the cut of the video, and when it finished, you know, we like looked at each other and we're like, we're never going to do anything as cool as this. Like it was actually kind of discouraging initially, because you just feel like, but you forget how hard it was to get to, you know, to that point in finishing Similitude. Like any kind of music like that, it's so much work. And I think it's a little bit like, maybe I shouldn't say this, maybe it's a little bit like having a baby, because if you remembered how hard it was, you probably would never do that the second time.
I don't know if everybody knows the backstory, but originally, when we started this album, it wasn't going to be a sequel, it wasn't going to be a double. You wanted a sequel and a double, I think. And I mean, if you don't know the backstory...
I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure, but I was kind of feeling that direction.
But we made a single album version of this music, single album and without any connections to Similitude. And we pretty much wrote the entire thing, and we're getting ready to start it. And you just really felt strongly that we needed something that was as spiritual and intense as Similitude. You didn't want to just do just another album. And I'm saying to Neal, it's like, you can't make The Wall every time. You gotta have a couple albums in between, but no, you want to do The Wall every time.
Well, I just felt like it wasn't everything that it wanted to be. I can't explain it any better than that. You know, I don't know. I just felt like it's good, but and Similitude did spoil me in a way. I felt like the piece itself delivered every concert, you know, and it was a wonderful thing to feel like you didn't have to try to deliver it. You could just stand and deliver it, and it would do it, you know? And so I didn't really want to go on tour, particularly with anything less than that. And I thought what we had done was good, but I thought that it could be greater. And so I kind of dropped the bomb in February, because Mike was supposed to come back in March and do his drums, and I said, and it's the first time it's ever happened with us on any of the records we worked on, Mike and I, where I came away from those sessions and said, I don't think it's there. I think we need to spend more time. And you were like, well, that's nice, but I have no time. And it was a tough call, because then, you know, we had a Skype call, and we had to just kind of hash it out. Well, what do you guys want to do? What are you feeling?
How persuasive did you have to be, or once you come up with that, they know, all right, the train's left the building, we're going, that's it?
Oh, well, I think what really sealed it was that when Neal sort of did his version of the album, it was more complete. The whole thing came together as a more complete album, because he had fleshed out a lot of lyrics. When we left in January, there was no lyrics. They were like, you know, silly lyrics about Disneyland and water parks. But
Raging waters is a ride at Disneyland.
And it's not.
It's not.
Child of Wonder. That was the working lyrics.
Oh, working there.
So anyway, once you hear it in a little more complete, it's like, okay, we get it, you know, and he had extracted a good deal of the January album and put that into the new one. So it wasn't, and here, I mean, there's another caveat on top of this. We originally started writing for this back in August of 17, before we went out on that August tour run in the Northeast. We got together for 3 or 4 days, and 3 of those songs are on the album, so they stuck. And at that time, we were kind of like, well, you know, these were kind of written with the similitude songs, and it's that same idea and the same inspiration. And we were kind of, oh, well, I don't think that'll matter. Nobody will care. You know? So we ended up keeping some of those, and then his version. So now we have like 2 versions of the album, and it's like, well, the only way this is going to work, because we were all like, well, yeah, but it's still, there was this and there was that one. And the original version, I loved it the way that was, and so there's all kinds of little things still that we wanted to pull in to the new one. And plus the new version was 2.5 hours of music, so obviously there was a lot more than we could actually use. So yeah, it's been a process, and then just trying to find the time to get together. But again, that's what made us come back together again and say, here's what we got, now what do we need to do with it? And I think they wrote like right up until the last minute to give him something to track to. So it was pretty tight getting the drum form. Because after that, we can go home and then flesh it out. And even at that point, we didn't know what the album was going to sound like. You don't ever know until you get Rich's mixes, because then it allows you to hear everything in its place, and then you can make intelligent decisions about what you have. Up until that point, you know, it's a waiting game. So it's been quite a process. But I think it was good that we ran out of time. You know, we got a deadline, and we've got 3 months to get this done. We're used to really being able to take our time to do these things and spend a lot of time fleshing it out, and we just didn't have it this time.
Yeah, in July, now the album's not written. We've got this hour-long version and this 2.5-hour-long version. We know we need to work on it. But in July, I'm like, you know, it'd be great to play this and debut it on Cruise to the Edge. But guys, we started doing the time backwards. That means we have to finish all of our parts in August. So Rich can then start mixing in September, October, deliver in November to make the release date in January. And guys, can we do it? No.
Mike?
Because we had Morse Fest and the Jesus Christ the Exorcist musical to learn and do, and it was all at the same time.
Yeah.
So it was pretty insane, but somehow it happened.
We were sending Rich tracks up into the last 5 minutes, you know. Oh, by the way, here's a thing I fixed. Then we just shot that video in LA. These guys end up because the one video was shot literally a mile away from the Mouse House. So after the video shoot, they went back to Rich's and they started working on it again. Yeah.
That was at the end of
we need to do this
November.
back in, and where's that thing? And I'd like to hear that thing a little louder.
Yeah, tear it down.
And
Put it back together.
the vinyl mixes are slightly different in places, because we have the vinyl masters need to be delivered at least a month or 2 before the CD or digital masters.
Yeah.
So we had to get the vinyl masters out, but then once after that happened, there were still changes being made to what became the final digital or CD.
Should that be a contest, a spot with
Yeah.
differences?
Find the
Because
differences.
there are actually, I can think of like 3 keyboard parts that were actually removed for the CD version.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Oh
It'd be
man.
like when Yes did Leave It on MTV, where there was like 41 versions. They had a contest to identify what was different about every version.
We swore we weren't going to change it either. We just stopped by Rich's just to hang out and say hi. And he starts playing. I'm like, oh, that bell. When you hit the bell in the and then you hit the bell, it's like, oh man, that's not loud
You know
enough.
that song has a title?
So it's louder on the CD than it is on vinyl.
I didn't know that song had a title. It's just an instrumental passage. Somebody asked me in an interview so tell me about the bass line on, what's the name? I didn't know.
Momentary Change.
A momentary change. And I'm like, momentary change?
Right.
I'm scrambling to try to find a track listing. So I said, can you tell me what song that is? Because I don't know. I've never heard of that song. I was like, I didn't even know there was a title for that.
Oh, Mike did the ID points.
Yeah, I did the ID points, and there were a lot of times where an instrumental passage needed a lyric, so there were a few songs that you came up with a lyric, a title from a section or a lyric or whatever. Yeah, but I guess everybody wasn't in the loop at that point.
Coffee.
Oh yeah. We got to rehearsals and they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Playing the part." I took that part out. I took my part out.
His entrance in the show and the album.
How dare you?
What used to be your very first entrance on the album was removed. So in rehearsals, he started playing it, and everyone's like, "What are you doing?"